We'll welcome Dr. Patel up to tell us sort of a bit about what we need to know as early surgeons on how to interact with industry, because whether you're looking for it or you're not looking for it, it's going to be present. So how do we do it well? Alpesh, thank you.
Great, thanks, Matt. Appreciate everyone coming. Yeah, I think it's an interesting topic. I think especially for this organization, for the LSRS, which was founded really with this idea of a lot of separation between us as surgeons, as researchers, and industry. I think we have an obligation to think about how we might more effectively partner with industry, and I think that's really the discussion point at play here. These are my personal conflicts of interest, and they're in the program. They're really relevant here as we talk about switching some of our framework a little bit and rethinking how we converse about our relationships in industry. Maybe it's not so much conflicts. In this talk, we're talking about collaborators and where might we work together, and how do we reframe the opportunities we have to work with industry to create value for our patients, for ourselves, and for those corporate partners, right? So I think for a lot of, clearly AI generated, for a lot of surgeons, we have a lot of thoughts early in our careers, right? While we're exhausted and fatigued, we're also thinking about all the great successes we can have in terms of helping patients, in terms of our families, and I think we've had some great discussions already about where we can have impact. But when it comes to working with industry, I think there's a few drivers of engagement. I'm going to share these are fairly personal, but they may or may not resonate with you. You may have other primary drivers of your interest, but I think in talking to surgeons and talking to our fellows over the years, these are pretty consistent themes. So what are those drivers of engagement from a surgeon's lens? Creativity, right? We want to be creative. We want to design new things. We want to express that creative element that we all have, I think, as surgeons. We're all problem solvers. We see problems in our clinical practices all day long, every day, right? Jacob just showed some great solutions using AI technologies. Maybe that solves some problems. Maybe they create new problems, right? But we're problem solvers. There's clearly a financial benefit, without a doubt, to being involved and thinking about creativity from a financial standpoint. We all have egos. We like to feed that ego a little bit. We like to have our names out there as experts in the field. So what does industry get from this? If you want, you got to look at each person's perspective, right? So what does the industry get out of partnering with us as physicians? And you have to remember that a lot of this is layered on with a competitive lens, right? So they are living in a hyper-competitive world, just like we are as surgeons. And think about those forces that are going to drive and shape their view of competition. And if you haven't read this Michael Porter article from HBR, it's worth a read, because I think it really gives you a lot of insight into sort of how you approach these things from a corporate lens. What are they looking for? They're looking for insight. They're looking for new ideas, new concepts. Again, back to what we like to do, creativity and problem solving. They need credibility, right? And we as surgeons can lend our lend our credibility to the partners that we work with. That's reputation, integrity, trust, reliability. These are all really important things that they can glean from us. There's obviously the creation, right? The creation element. There's IP and there's trademarks and there's patents that can be created, in working together. Increasingly, data, right? Data is absolutely unbelievably valuable. And this is where we see some of the conversations shifting maybe from one-off partnerships with an individual surgeon, but thinking more at health system levels and access to large quantum of data in a prospective manner to help feed some of those AI models that we've already seen developed and future ones. So I think in the end, like the foundation of a really good relationship with industry is going to be about fit, and you may hear this a lot about fit. To me, fit means something that's mutually beneficial, right? And that can either be the actual end product, like a means to an end that we all agree we want to get there, we want to get to this end product and we agree on it, or it could just be the path itself, right? Working together, developing collegial relationships might be the fit that you're looking for. So personally, when I work with or I'm approached by a company to talk about new products, new product development, or partnerships or consulting, or whatever the relationship might be, I always ask 3 questions. And I try to keep them simple. And I try not to talk too much after I ask the questions because I want to hear the response, right? So one question I ask is, what problem are you trying to solve? And if that question can't be answered succinctly and with clarity, that raises a lot of doubts for me, right, about the next questions. Is then that problem that you're trying to solve interesting to me and to my patients? Because if you're not interested in it, it's going to fade. Right? You're not going to be committed to it. You're not going to bring enthusiasm to it, and it's going to fade. And then this is where you need to do some internal searching. Am I really uniquely positioned to solve this problem? So if I'm not the right person to solve this problem, I should probably be pretty honest about that on the front end, and maybe even guide those folks to the right person to talk to. So key tactics: be compliant, know the laws, the rules, the standards in your practice, the standards if you're in a university setting. Understand that backwards and forwards, and if you do not, get an attorney involved and make sure that you are compliant in every way, shape, or form. But then also think about this whole relationship with industries. About that key first word is relationship. Think about how you build relationships. And this is a great article, again, in HBR by one of the faculty at Northwestern, Kellogg. Talks about looking at networking in a little bit of a different light, right? And so think about not so much networking at the one-to-one basis, like we do a great job, I think, at this meeting of spending time and getting to build small local networks, but think about not just the people you know, but who do they know and who do they know. And if you lean into that building, intentional building of a network, I think you'll see lots more opportunities show up. So a couple years ago, I took advantage of this app that was available for a while, and I took all of my LinkedIn connections and I mapped out what my social network looks like. I may have shown this in the past a few places, but I'm sitting there in the middle because that's how this app creates it. And you can see all the people that I'm connected to and how they're connected to each other. And this is a couple years old, but it's a really interesting way to look at the people that you know, right? And then you start to label a little bit, and I've got this cluster in Chicago. Those are our friends here. Matt spans both of those because our kids go to school together. I've got a cluster from Kellogg and Northwestern, and I've got this large cluster of orthopedics and neurosurgeons. And if you zoom in on that cluster, you can see something that's really telling, right? It's a dense cluster. What do we say colloquially? Well, everyone knows everyone, right? It's a small world. You hear these things over and over again. And it's because it's really dense clustering. So what does that tell you? It tells you that you really need to be on your best behavior, right? You really need to be honest, transparent, open, be engaged, be your honest, true self. But understand that the decisions you make early in your careers, because of this dense clustering, will stick with you for quite a long time. So be really, really thoughtful. So act now. There's no reason to wait to develop partnerships with industry. There's no reason to wait as long as your motives are aligned and your values are aligned. But keep that long-term vision, understanding that you're in this for a 20 to 30 plus year run, and a lot of opportunities will come your way. Even if you feel disappointed they didn't come early, they'll come back around, and you'll find that's oftentimes a lot of the same people maybe working for different companies, but those relationships actually build, I think, a lot of long-term positive gain for myself personally, but then also for those other outputs we talked about. Thank you very much.